Welcome to Riot. I'm your host Tisa, and this is
May.
And today we're going to talk about National Coming Out Day, because today is October 11th, 2019, and it's National Coming Out Day.
Do you know why?
I'm sure I know somewhere in my brain, but it's been a while since I've been out for a very long time. So
Do
go
you
ahead.
want to know why?
Hi. You're going to tell me.
I'm going to tell you. So in 1987, on October 11th, there was a big march in Washington. And that's where a lot of the LGBTQ groups that we have nowadays started. And then the next year, two leaders of that movement, Robert Eichberg and Jean O'Leary, created National Coming Out Day to honor the day that everybody marched in Washington. Robert Eichberg was a psychologist, and Jean O'Leary was an activist. Robert died in 1995 of AIDS, but they're both pioneers. So, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 1988 to now, so this is 31 years?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's kind of a big deal.
But it's been going on for 30 years?
Yeah. So I wanted to start something a little bit new. In the podcast, I wanted to do something with a little bit more content that'll let us talk about different kinds of things, but still let us be our own people. And so I have decided that each time I'm going to come up with an idea or a word and research it and come up with some questions and some things to talk about. So this week I'm starting with openness in honor of the Coming Out Day. So, you want to get started with our stories, how we came out?
I've been out for so long that I
You
don't
have
even
been out
remember.
for a very long time.
I have been out. I didn't really have to come out, so I don't know. Those dogs downstairs are fucking crazy. Is this even picking up my voice? Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about your coming out? That was most recent.
It was recent. It was less than a year ago. This is officially my first October 11th out. I didn't necessarily come out of the closet the way that I wanted to. I was kind of pulled from the closet. And because of that, I have lost a lot. Not that I wasn't going to lose it before I came out of the closet, but it was something that was inevitable. But me coming out of the closet definitely was the straw that broke the camel's back, so to say. And it's the reason my life went upside down last summer. Well, the catalyst for it. It was going to happen eventually, regardless, so it wasn't a pleasant experience, and I have a new understanding of what it means. I'm 38 years old, and this is something that I came to understand about myself later in life, and you know what, that's okay. Everybody's different, everybody lands different places on the spectrum, and sometimes the place where you think you were on the spectrum is not where you were, and that's how it was with me. I just didn't have enough experience, and I didn't have I wasn't in the right place in my life to be able to know that piece of myself until later.
But you've always known.
I've always had an idea.
Well, I didn't really have to come out at all because I didn't. Well, I came out, I guess. I was out in a time where Katie Lang was coming out, Melissa Etheridge was coming out, like all these musicians were coming out, and actresses were coming out. So I didn't feel that I needed to come out because I felt that it was normal. But I also knew that it wasn't normal because I had a really hard time as a kid with my sexuality because I grew up Catholic and the church teaches you that it's wrong. But luckily for me, I grew up in a church that was more liberal. And one year they even gave out rainbows, I believe, on National Coming Out Day. And my dad took me to that mass, and I got a little rainbow. I wonder if I still have it. I'm sure I do somewhere in my stuff. But I didn't. It was more of a shock. Like, my parents aren't. Everybody in my family is pretty much gay. Like, no, not everybody. There's a lot of homosexuals. There's a lot of people on the spectrum that are in my family. So the only thing that happened when they found out I was dating a girl was they had me go to Christian counseling, and because that's the way that my parents were, and the counselor just said that it was a man and wife team. They basically just said she says she's in love with this woman, well, this girl, it was when I was like 16. There's nothing that you can really do. And if it's a phase, it's a phase, but just let her live her life. So here I am. I've also dated guys, though. Like, I consider myself queer. I don't consider myself a lesbian. And I dated a woman before who, when we were together, would get upset that I called myself queer, and she would force me to say that I was a lesbian. Like, it was a really weird thing. And I hated it that she was like, no, you're a lesbian. So, but I consider myself queer. I'm attracted to everybody. I don't care what gender you are. I have dated both men and women, so. But
yeah, I was raised in a family where it was super important to be quote unquote normal, and if you weren't quote unquote normal, then there was a lot of shame placed upon you, as you guys heard last week or last time we did this podcast. And so when I came out, it went straight there. I'm ashamed of you, and I'm ashamed to have you in my family. And you know what? Everybody deals with it differently, and it's okay. I landed on my feet just like a cat, and it's okay. I don't know what I consider myself. I haven't thought that far into it. I've been with mostly men, and this is my first serious relationship with a woman, and I think this is my last serious relationship I'll ever have, so it doesn't really matter what I consider myself, as long as I'm happy, and that is what I am. So,
well, that's good.
I hope so.
That's good to hear.
So I don't want to say that I'm gay or straight or in a phase or confused, because I'm not any of those things. I'm just in love and happy, and that's all that matters.
My parents always told me they don't care if I'm with a man or a woman as long as I'm happy. So it's been a lot of unhappiness. This is the first time I'm genuinely happy. So that's good. We're both on the same page.
We are.
And when my kid was 13, she came out of the closet as bisexual, but she's straight over the past years. I don't know if it was just I don't know what it was. I should discuss it with her sometime to see what it was. Because I know at that time, one of my nieces came out as bisexual too. So right after that, my kid came out. So I'm pretty sure it was just a thing. She's definitely straight, I believe, with her boyfriend. They've been together for over a year. That doesn't mean anything. I know that. Don't at me. I'm just saying. I don't think she's ever had a serious relationship with a female. I don't know any of that stuff. But she's had friends that sucked. But that's a different story.
So one of the other things that I found when I was doing some research was a list of ways to be supportive if your child does come out. So we came around to that naturally. Because I've had to deal with this too. I was sat down and I was told, and I hope that I was as accepting and loving as I could possibly be. I'd like to think I was.
Well, they know who it is because she was just on and she's like, I'm gay.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, so she sat me down about a year and a half ago. I always, as a parent, you watch your kid for signs and anything, and I always was convinced that she was like me as a kid, which, should have been a red flag right there.
Why is it a red flag?
Because I always thought she was boy crazy like I was when I was her age.
She is boy crazy.
She is crazy boy crazy. But she came out as pansexual, and I said, okay, I love you anyway. And then I said, oh yeah, and I'm bi. And she's like, really? And it was like mind-blowing, completely opened her mind. And I think it really brought us closer together at the end of the day. But I know that it's not easy to have those conversations, and it's not easy to hear those kind of things from your kids because, as adults, we've all been through phases in this country where it was looked down upon, it was frowned upon, and you want your kids to not have to go through that. And so that was my concern. That was my main concern when she came out, that she's not going to get humiliated and embarrassed at school for being exactly who she is. Because my girl's not the kind of girl to hide in a closet. She is going to be out and proud no matter where she is. So, some of the things that CNN said...
You're really good at CNN a lot for your information.
No, just this one, because it was the article that reminded me of me. And then at the end of the article, it talked about this. Coming out is a very vulnerable time for people. The first thing that you need to do is tell them that they're going to be okay. You don't say pray the gay away, because that is not going to happen. And don't assume that it's just a phase, because who cares? If it is, if it's not, who cares? It's just let them be exactly who they are at that moment, and nothing else matters. It's never too late to accept your child. I hope that I eventually am going to be accepted, but I'm going to make for damn sure to accept my daughter. And it's a process. You are always working. There's always people that you have to come out to that you didn't expect. I got a new job, and coming out at work for the first time was a nerve-wracking experience for me, because I've never had to go through it before, and I'm fixing to have to go through it again. And I'm just hoping that they're gonna be as accepting as they were before, and I think they will be.
It's nobody's business for you to have to feel that you need to come out at work.
It's nobody's business, but it's also the thing that I don't want to hide my life in a closet. I don't want to have to go to work and have to see my partner for the rest of my life.
Baby, they can just look at you and know that you are of the lesbian persuasion.
But I've never assumed that about anybody ever. So I wouldn't want to think that they're going to assume things about me either.
Nah. I don't know. I knew when I saw you that you were freaking a homo.